Hello, tonight I am going to be talking about curriculum in the Common Core um, and talking a little bit about the texts that we've read so far. Um, is Common Core necessary? Are Common Core standards necessary for just necessary, period? I think that they absolutely are. I know that they get a lot of backlash and there's um, a lot of ridicule that there's a lot of teaching to the test and teaching to the standard instead of like teaching the student. But I really believe that these standards help to keep our teachers accountable. They also help to ensure that all students across a state are learning the same skills. This is so important. Um, how how are we sure that we're preparing our kids the same way that somebody else is, or that they'll be as prepared as students that come from Northern California, or um, students that come from a low income area versus students that come from a high income area? This is a very good way of making sure that the skills that are being taught are the same skills. How they get there, of course, is different. Um, but I think that Common Core standards are definitely necessary. Um, right now, I think that for the most part, um, schools and teachers are deciding on what is being taught. These standards are something that we're supposed to follow. And I know that the school that I teach at, we work in teams called course level teams, and our course level teams work together to decide what it is that we're going to teach our students each year, and we come up with core texts that every teacher reads on that course level. And then there are supplemental texts that we are allowed to choose. We can choose to read the same ones as everybody else. We can choose to add new ones. It really gives us a lot of sort of leeway, and we can bring new stuff to the group. Try out things with just our class and come back and say, holy cow, that didn't work. Or like, hey, this was a really great thing that I found that worked. For example, I'm teaching the Crucible in a few months to my juniors, and I had found this activity that was um, like a lead up activity to the Crucible, and it tied in like McCarthyism and things. And it's pretty simple. I go around and I individually tell each kid quietly whether or not they're a witch, and then tell the kids that your job is to create the biggest group possible without a witch. If you have a witch in your group at the end, your group fails, and sort of let it go. And then at the end of the period, I call them all back, and um, we see who has a witch and who doesn't. And at the end, inevitably, there'll be a small group of students that aren't in a group, and there'll be a bigger group and probably several subgroups. Um, and I'll ask the witches to stand up, and nobody will. And so the kids will be in a frenzy, of course, because they are. And I'll let them know that not a one of them was a witch. But this is exactly what happened during the 1950s with Hollywood blacklisting, that people assumed, or that they heard somebody else say, "Oh, that person's a communist," and so it is a really great way to sort of introduce this topic. I'm going to be the only junior English teacher doing this, and so I'm kind of going to figure out if it's cool or not. And if it's not cool, then I'm going to tell them, "Hey, I tried this and it bombed," or "Hey, maybe we work this into our curriculum next time." So I really do have a lot of leeway. I'm very lucky. I am not sure that that's true of every school. This is the only school I've ever taught at. Um, but I do imagine that there is some leeway in what we're teaching. I am extra lucky because I have a group of three other individuals that I bounce ideas off of. And because I'm new, some of my ideas are crazy. And they aren't afraid to tell me, "Hey, that's crazy. You can try it, but I've tried something like that. It didn't work." Or, "Hey, that might really work. Maybe we should all try that." So it really is great. I know that I get to choose what I teach a lot. Um, though in our course level team, we are pretty cohesive. A few implications of The Path Ahead by Hirsch and Martina. Um, Basically, what they talked about was that currently the control over education policy remains in the hands of corporate reformers and who are advocating for accountability through standardized testing and other things, which is um, not all bad, but what they want to move towards is that everybody has the opportunity to participate in policymaking, and at the local, the state, and the federal level. And all of these decisions need to be transparent. They're not saying that we should go back to the time before, like the accountability, because they said that the accountability was great, which it is. We Our students are being better educated because of the accountability um, in our classrooms for our teachers. It is, um, I know that when I was in school, I had a math teacher who taught us nothing. He would give us the homework each night and read his newspaper for the rest of the period. And so every day he collected homework, he assigned homework, and read his newspaper. And when we asked him questions, he did the problem for us and never explained how he got from step one to step two. And I learned nothing in that class, and which is terrible. And the majority of us barely squeaked by because we had to teach ourselves. And if there was zero accountability for him. And so because of that, I had to take calculus 2 times when I was in college because he was the last math class I took in high school, and nothing that I taught myself stuck. So basically, they're saying that the the policy making needs to go from where it is now with like corporate reformers to all levels. Like everybody gets the opportunity to participate, and that the decisions that are made are very transparent. Thank you so much, and I hope that you have an excellent evening.